Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, I don't get why you need to make such a big deal about stolen devices. No, the CPU was not stolen. What do you mean the server is gone? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I don't get why you need to make such a big deal about stolen devices. I always thought that people making 6 to 7 figures of salary, and with corporate card limits higher than my salary, would have some sort of sense of the seriousness of protecting your company assets and data, not go several days without reporting a stolen laptop, but alas, my conversation today. For context, I work as help desk for a multi-billion-dollar Canadian retailer whose high-profile users are very much in the public eye and have been targeted before for phishing and data theft. Cast, me, CC clueless C-suite user. *K call on the VIP line from an external number without caller ID, red flag number 1. Anyone on the VIP line should be coming through from either their extension or corporate cell with their name, already verified with employee number. Me, thanks for calling service desk, my name is me, can we start with your name please? CC, I think I'm locked out of my account, unlock me. I have a meeting to join. Me, we can take a look, I'll need your name first though. CC, it's clueless C-suite user. Me, let's check why you can't get in, one moment. Their account has been blocked by network security team after dozens of failed logon attempts to the network. Me, alright, your account was disabled by the security team, I'll need to confirm some information before we do anything with this. You'll need to verify your employee number, the person you report to, and the address of the building that you work out of. CC, my employee ID is incorrect number, I work from head office, and I don't report to anyone on the high-profile C-suite position. Me, alright, so you do have a listed manager even if you don't communicate with them every day. Please confirm their name. Also, the employee number you provided is incorrect. CC, why am I locked out? This is costing the company millions of dollars. It's probably not, but okay. Me, there's been suspicious activity on your account. Have you clicked any emails asking for your password in the last few weeks, or let anyone access your hardware? Even if it was locked or powered off. CC, I don't click emails, you make me do enough training on that. Me, okay, how about if anyone has had access to your laptop or corporate cell phone? Even just for a few minutes. CC, well, it was stolen from my car. I'm not sure where it is now. Me, I'm sorry, your laptop was stolen? When did this happen? Last night? We'll need a police report immediately. CC, no, it was a few days ago. My bag with my corporate cell and laptop was taken from my car when I was parked at local mall. I asked my assistant to order me a replacement, but I haven't received it. Me, these sorts of things need to be reported to us or security immediately. Whoever stole your devices would have unrestricted access to any incoming phone calls and could get into your laptop without much difficulty. I'm going to begin the process to wipe those devices and alert the security team. Please provide as much information as to the time and location of the theft, where was your car parked at the mall, etc. CC, this is why I didn't report this in the first place. You make such a big deal of this for no reason. Just get me back into my accounts so I can join my meeting. Me, unfortunately that can't be done until the network team can perform a risk assessment on your account and get the proper monitoring configured. What sort of information do you keep on your laptop and phone? Is there anything confidential or that could harm the company if released to the public? CC, I'm working on an acquisition of a competitor with the legal team. There's probably some documents regarding that shouldn't get out. When do I get my new computer? Me, the new devices aren't the issue here, I've paged out the network security team. Once they complete the assessment and receive confirmation that the devices have been wiped, they'll call you and provide you new credentials for your account. I suggest that you reach out to HR so they can forward your employment letter so that you can correctly verify your information. CC, so you can't tell me the information I'll need? Me, it'll likely be a combination of your employee number, which is on your benefits card, as well as your manager listed on Teams and your office address. CC, what's my employee number? Me, you're not verified, so I cannot provide that. CC, so you're not going to help me at all? Me, my job is to help protect the company systems and assets. Lost devices are serious and the process is strict. If I unlock your account or give you the info you need to verify, I'll be fired immediately. CC hangs up on me. I go about my morning, but keep an eye on this ticket because I'm nosy. User calls back twice from what I can tell and fails verification both times requesting that we just reset their account for this meeting they need to join. I swear I'm going to be gray by the time I'm 30 at this rate. Incredible. Reminds me of when I was on the phone with a user who was disabled in AD, and when I answered the call, our security team pinged me, sent me a file, and demanded I run it on her machine, which would remotely image it. Had malicious software that our tools weren't able to remove remotely, and she threw an absolute fit when she thought this was just going to be a PW reset. First, let me move these files to my pool drive at least. Had to lock her controls and explain that the infection could bleed into her file system and then into the company via that network drive. At least my manager backed me up when she emailed him. When it comes to InfoSec, even spineless IT managers better back up their staff, or they don't deserve their job even remotely. CC, I'm working on an acquisition of a competitor with the legal team. There's probably some documents regarding that shouldn't get out. When do I get my new computer? As soon as we let you out of the penalty box, and if you're not fired immediately thereafter. New computer? Now you're getting a hunk of junk until your refresh in 3.5 years. I've got a T430S from 2012 in my drawer. Swing by and pick it up. I'll get a BlackBerry Bold 9700 setup for you too. In all seriousness, he had a MacBook Pro and iPhone 13 Pro ordered as replacement devices. I don't want to be the one to tell him that both of those are in short supply and have a 2 to 3 week lead time at least. I'll well call it karma. This is spectacular, OP. Will you give us updates if anything new happens? I'll keep an eye on the ticket, but I'm honestly not sure. His cost center is going to be billed approximate $5,000 for a replacement laptop and about $1,500 for a replacement phone at the very least, which I believe will impact the bonus a tad. He's also going to be a few weeks with no phone as his assistant ordered an iPhone 13 Pro and we're a 2 to 3 week lead time on those at the moment. Believe we're 2 weeks for the performance laptops as well. Yes, please. I'm guessing CC gets a big bonus. Seriously. Plot twist, the person calling you isn't the C-suite employee, it's the guy who stole the laptop. That was my thought. They were trying to social engineer their way into the laptop after failing to log in a bunch of times. I give it 50/50 odds of being the thief versus being the actual C-suite employee. Well, he's wasting his talents being a petty thief. I mean, he's already got the entitled attitude down pat to fit right in as an executive. About 10 years ago, I had a similar call escalated to me from first line. Except the laptop hadn't been stolen, they'd left it on the roof of their car and driven off. Can you track it and let me know where it is? Then I'll go and pick it up. Surprisingly, the entry-level Dell laptops of the time didn't have always-on GPS tracking. This was unfathomable to the junior VP who was calling. She'd also forgotten her password, so couldn't get her email on her BlackBerry. I told you this was 10 years ago. My password was on a post-it inside the laptop. Wow. Anyway, she retraced her steps and managed to drive over the mangled remains of her laptop in the process. It had already been driven over by a lorry, she said, defensively. When will my new one be here? How do people like this make it past the first interview, let alone stick around long enough to be promoted to C-suite? Idiocy is a prerequisite. They come that way. The Dilbert Principle. The Dilbert Principle is a concept in management developed by Scott Adams, creator of the comic strip Dilbert, which states that companies tend to systematically promote incompetent employees to management to get them out of the workflow. This is why every single computer, laptop or not, and every phone, is encrypted as part of initial deployment and configuration. If it's lost or stolen, it doesn't matter because the information is inaccessible. The value of the hardware is trivial compared to the value of the data on it. At least until the executive keeps a sticky note with the login and password attached to the laptop. My first thought was no BitLocker, but one of the comments says it's a MacBook Pro. I'm not familiar with Macs, but surely it has an encryption option? K call on the VIP line. Q equals a signal triggering a follow-up of some kind. Q equals a sequence of people or things. K equals what? Drop down for K. CC, I don't click emails, you make me do enough training on that. That's actually reassuring. It is until you realize the only reason he'd have to do more than one quick training a year is that he's clicking on phishing tests and being enrolled in extra ones. I read that as an accusation. You always keep me from getting any real work done. No, the CPU was not stolen. I just wish users who have to use a computer every day got some basic training. I work remote IT for a medical facility, which is a very high-paced environment, and it can be rough some days, but generally, after I ask a few questions, I can do the troubleshooting I need to fix the issue. If not, I can send the case to a team on site to get the issue resolved. I got a call today that started out like this. SF, me, C, caller, R, some random person. SF, thank you for calling. How can I assist you today? C, the CPU was stolen. As a note, stealing a CPU for one of these computers requires a lot of time and a lot of work because most of the computers in this location are locked in a cage. SF, alright, do you see any dented metal or screws lying on the floor? C, no, why would that stuff be there? SF, well, if a CPU was stolen, then we need to unscrew the cage, case, fan mount, and potentially CPU mount. C, well, the HDD is saying it's corrupted. SF, okay, so is the CPU intact? C, no, I'm telling you that the HDD is corrupted. Do you even work with computers? SF, okay, can you read off the error that the HDD is giving you? C, entering power sleep mode and I can't get it to show anything else. Yeah, so the CPU being stolen, I have no idea what that means. This HDD error just means the computer isn't getting a video signal. So I document what actually is going on and get back to the call. C, okay, so from the sounds of the error on the screen, it may be that the cable is loose or bad. Could you please check the cables for me? C, puffed, no, the CPU was stolen and I already checked the cables. SF, could you try turning the computer on for me to check to see if any lights pop up? C, no, I'm telling you. There's a bit of a scuffle and some random worker comes on. R, the CPU was stolen and we need a tech up here to fix it. I try to do the same troubleshooting steps to maybe hopefully get a lock that it is an issue with a cable or it's not plugged in, but R, look here, I know more about computers than you do, and when I say that the CPU was stolen I know it, and on top of that our HDD is saying it's corrupt. I mute myself, sigh and smack my head. SF, okay, they'll send a tech over to take a look at it. R, there, was that so hard? Click. Sometimes the only way to win is to lose. I checked back on the case a little bit ago and saw the solution the techs gave. Went to site, turned on computer. Sounds like a staff member who heard someone tell IT their the HDD is corrupt and noted it got a quick and high priority response, so that became their go-to problem regardless of the actual problem. You informed us of an error message stating the HDD was corrupt. This is not a standard Windows error message, and acting on this information, we believe your computer may be infected with malware. In the interest of security, we will have to re-image your device just to be safe. An audit of your internet usage history will also be sent to your manager. Founding members of a new cargo cult? I went through a period where everything that went wrong with the cash registers with the credit card pad isn't working. Monitor went to sleep. The credit card pad isn't working. Mouse needs cleaning. The credit card pad isn't working. Crumbs in the keyboard. The credit card pad isn't working. Cup holder making a funny noise? The credit card pad isn't working. Trash can fire in the store next door. The credit card pad isn't working. Earthquake somewhere in Asia? The credit card pad isn't working. Somebody told the workers IT prioritizes tickets that affect payment systems, so they started logging everything that way for faster fixes. Trash can fire next door. Oh, that got me. Thank you for the laugh. Can you ring them back up and pester them about it? Tell them you need to make a full report for the company or something. Ask them about the turned on computer comment about 8 or 9 times, sound really stupid, and make them repeat the same information, then just abruptly hang up on them when they're in the middle of a sentence. Sadly, we cannot treat clients like they treat us, but if I could, they would be on the top of my list, lol. The correct response would have been: a stolen CPU is not an IT issue. Please hang up and call the police. Cannot tamper with a crime scene. Let me guess, when tech arrived and saw the CPU sitting there, they asked why R&C said it was stolen, and their answer was, I don't know what you're talking about, we never said that. Don't put words in our mouths. Just wanted you to know I find the way your flare shows up in Apollo rather funny. Pulls up printed transcript of the call. If they were so insistent on getting a new CPU, just get them one, but make them install it themselves so they learn what a CPU actually is. Learn the hard way not to diagnose issues when you have no clue what you're doing. Make sure it's a different socket just to see what they do. I've got a feeling that OP's first language isn't English. IIRC Germany and a few other countries call a computer a CPU. You should have called security, got the site secured, and get the police to investigate the theft. You really think the police is going to move for a stolen computer? Firstly, sir, no you don't, and secondly, when the engineer visits, if it turns out to be something else that we could have fixed remotely, this visit will be billed as an emergency call at $500 as per our contract. That tends to shut them up, or if not, generates some nice income. If it generates income, it will also shut them up when their boss has to ask about the charge, especially if said charge has a note reading PC not powered on attached. My coworker once said you wouldn't hire a mechanic who doesn't know how to use a screwdriver, so why do you hire office people who can't operate a PC? And I'm totally stealing that analogy. What do you mean the server is gone? I work in a data center. We are supposed to have several people on hand to allow clients in the doors and to their cabinets, but because we can't keep people employed here, I'm working that duty on top of my normal tickets/phone/receiving duties. Anyway, I get a message that a client is hard down. Their equal logic is reporting is down and their VMs are all F***KED. As acting door dude, I have to go out to the cabinet to check it out, but the cabinet documentation is wrong. This client split into two, but the new one was never set up right, so now I have to look in all kinds of places. I can't find this equal logic anywhere, right? I even found the switch it should have been in, and traced the labeled cable all the way to the end, and found it was just gone. The Ethernet cable was just hanging there. It must have been moved during the split and not documented. I'm telling all of this to the facility engineer, who takes care of the building, HVAC, coolant, power, etc. He goes, there was that field tech in today, he was in that cabinet. Would be wild if he just took it. We laughed. That would be funny. He was in that cabinet, wasn't he? And he left with a server. I called the head technical supervisor immediately, who got field services to bring it back. They're setting it up now, and we're trying to figure out how to tell the client we literally just took their entire storage environment and left with it. I need a drink. This is why you not only need a good ticketing system, but your tech should only do what is clearly specified on the ticket, and each one has to be approved. Otherwise it's he said or she said to take this silver server or whatever. This didn't have a ticket or change documented at all. That's the first thing I checked. If the joke hadn't been made, I still wouldn't know. But isn't it easier just to give them minimum information and imply they are incompetent if they ask? That way we can cover lack of documentation and get things done faster. /s. * sorry, too much working for MSPs. Who in the world just pulls a running system out of a rack? Surely if it was being deracked, it would be powered off when the tech got to it. Many levels of wrong here. You are absolutely correct, lol. The documentation said it was out of commission, but it was wrong, and as you said, obviously still running, lol. Worked off shift covering a standard help desk next to the one guy who worked 16-hour weekend shifts, covering the level 3 triage emergency phone for a Fortune 70 company. 5 years ago or so now, he got a call to spin up a triage all hands on deck, mandatory conference call. Turns out somehow, they still have the data and OP center for all the Middle East and Indochina located in the Middle East. The little city it was located in was just taken over by radical Muslims who then burnt the data center building to the ground. Chaos ensued, and he told me the next weekend, the conference call was still ongoing with over 500 participants when he came back into work Friday night, and that included all VPs, the CEO, and 2 Alphabet agency people who were there for intel dispatching. I was moved over from engineer to physical security manager for a data center with a similar setup. 2 a.m. a group of techs come out and say their systems are down, and they need access to their cabinet. Security on duty checks all their credentials, and lets them into their cabinet. They took everything out and left. Why? Because they hadn't paid their bill for a few months and decided that they didn't want to anymore. However, no one told security about this. So I come in fresh in the morning to get screamed at for 2 hours on why we let the client take their equipment off site when that had added a note on their account to not let them in. While it was documented that they were past due and shouldn't be allowed to their equipment. The note easily missed, and no one actually bothered to tell security that the client shouldn't be allowed in anymore. They just left a small note. /facepalm. Reminds me of one of our tiny offices I looked after as an internal IT bod. 2 staff on site, one being a sales guy who mostly used client sites than the office. The other was in the office daily, but had very little contact other than the odd "can you reboot the router," etc. They rang one day complaining they couldn't print. We had on-site servers at all offices for AD, file storage and print serving, among other stuff. I tried remoting in, but wasn't getting a response from much other than the router. I asked for the server to be rebooted. The small offices had the IT racks in the main room, as a lot of the buildings we rented didn't have suitable cupboards. There was a pause, then they mumbled something about sorting it later, then hung up. About a week later, I was called into HR. They asked me about the recent interaction, then asked to disable the user's accounts, door access, and start the laptop retrieval process, etc. It turns out that the user had abused the company fuel card by filling their car, then their spouse's car, then their children's car on almost every fill-up. It didn't take long to flag up a standard car using up £150 worth of fuel on each transaction. As part of the investigation, HR also visited the office. It was empty bar, a chair, desk, and the empty network rack. The user had dismantled the place and eBayed the lot. The reason they couldn't print was because they'd sold the print server. We ended up with a massive investigation in order to retrieve all the items, but couldn't get everything back. And this story has just reminded me of the employee who managed to sell a laptop or two per shipment and only got found out when an eBayer rang our internal helpdesk's number listed in Windows System Properties when they had an issue. Split their client's rack and didn't document where things were moved to? Say what? Welcome to my hell. Years ago, the company I worked for needed some extra office space in a hurry. A floor was rented in a shared building, and we installed a router plus a Catalyst 4506 chassis switch in a locked cab in the comms room to connect the PCs, etc. One Monday morning, we got reports that office was down, although the router was still up. I went and had a look, and the switch's supervisor card, the main management card of the switch, worth several £1,000s, had gone. Turns out that all the cabs in the comms room has the same key, and some F***er had opened our cab with their key and stolen the sup. It then transpired that the shared office's security cameras hadn't been working, so there was no clue who did it. That's why we only buy SCEC Class C cabinets. I had a client who owned a hardware store call and say that their POS server was stolen. Along with it, all of the network cables were cut at the ceiling tiles level, and the 4U wall rack, patch panel, and switch were ripped off of the wall. They also took the DVR for the cameras and 2 gun safes. The client's store had had a sale and the burglars wanted the money. The building was made of steel pro panel sheets that are screwed into metal studs. They unscrewed a section at the back of the store where there wasn't any drywall on the other side, and had easy access to the inside of the building. Luckily, I am not a neat freak as far as the above the ceiling area is concerned, so there was a lot of slack network cable up there. All that I had to do was to pull it down, replace the patch panel, and punch everything down again. There were a few that were short, so trying to crimp on a RJ45 plug while on a ladder was a joy. The owner was a real pain and wanted things up and running as soon as possible. Of course, all of the cable labels were missing, and I explained that we'd have to trace all of the cables out so they could be repunched in the proper order. Nope, just punch them down. Okay, that's what we did. Connected the switch back in and got them up and running with no server, but they had internet. It was another 2 days before the POS vendor had a server on site. Over time, I was able to trace things out. The patch panel numbering was really screwy though, 5, 13, 9, etc. Since the DVR was sitting on top of the server, I guess the thieves thought it was hooked into it. They had cut the network cables, as I guess they also thought that the DVR sent stuff to the internet. As for the 2 gun safes, the customer lost all of the software CDs for their computers and some manuals. Neither one of them held any money or weapons, and the burglary was never solved. Back in a previous life, 2 gigs ago, I worked for a telecom equipment company. On our equipment, there was a big LED labeled, paraphrasing here, "It's been 13 years since I worked there, safe to pull. Do modern server blades not have some clearly labeled safe to pull indicator?" I've never seen one, but I'm obviously a huge fan of the idea. When you said acting door dude, my brain went immediately to web dude versus sales guy. Well, I rebooted my PC, and it's still that way. How many times did you reboot it? 3, man, you always told me to do 3. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.